Hi, my name is Gersha Phillips, and you're listening to the SyFy Sistas podcast.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the SyFy Sistas podcast, where we give you our point of view. I'm Tamia Harper, and I'm joined today by my sisters, Yvette Blackman-Tom.
Hello.
And Fran T.
What's happening?
What's happening is a big whoop whoop for Sabrina, and we've got a great show today. We are stoked because this has been several years in the making. We have wanted to have this person on our show for a long time. We, as Star Trek fans, first met her in Star Trek Discovery. That's where I first learned her name. And then I went and did a lot of research and background. And most recently, you know her work from Captain America, Brave New World. You know her work from Section 31. You know her work from The Woman King, whoop, whoop. And from Star Trek Strange New Worlds. She is costume designer extraordinaire, Gersha Phillips. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for that introduction.
That's right.
It's like finally.
Very glad to be here.
Yes.
Thank you. We're so happy to have you here. I remember, one of the highlights of my whole life was being on the red carpet for, I believe it might have been the Strange New Worlds red carpet.
You mean last year? Section 31? No.
Maybe it was the Section 31 red carpet.
That's when we met her.
Or Discovery.
Oh, was it Section 31?
Section 31? I thought we met at Discovery Red Carpet.
I thought we met before it was Section 31.
Season 2 of Discovery.
Yes.
We did a premiere in New York.
That's what it was.
I was there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's when I met you guys. So
Yeah.
I remember your logo. I don't know if your logo was this logo.
Yes.
Yes, that was last year.
I needed that T-shirt. When am I getting that T-shirt?
That's right. That was last year.
Was it last year?
Yeah,
And that
Section
was when
31.
I was wearing palazzo pants and some boots and the purple SyFy Sistas hoodie, and I had on some real African inspired bangles and stuff. And you said, "Oh my God, I love this look." And you said, "I love this sweatshirt." And we're like, "Yes, you can get one. We'll have one for you." And you were like,
There we
"I
go.
love this whole look." And I about died.
Yes, she did.
Aw, that's wonderful.
Oh my God.
She
thank
was
you.
she was no good for at least
wasn't.
a month.
I was blushing. Now, let me tell you, my godfather is a fashion designer. And I was a little fashionista when I was coming up. I'm not. I was also very much of a tomboy. You would never know. They forced me into dresses, but I was very particular about style. And on my wall in my room, I had all these posters. Remember the magazine, the fashion magazine W? So I would have all these printouts from W's. I'd follow different designers. It was my jam for a long time. And so for somebody that's in this world to say, "Oh my God, I like your look," I was done. I was too through. Thank you. Thank you for that. I always remember that little moment.
Well, that's great. I'm still waiting for my hoodie, but that's great.
Don't worry. Now
nice,
that
but
we
wait.
got you.
Let's not forget that.
Now that we got you, don't worry. It's coming.
I did meet you at the Discovery season 2
Mhm.
premiere
Yeah.
in 2019, I think it
29,
was.
exactly. Yeah.
In New York City. I did meet you.
Yeah. I
And
thought
that was
so.
before the SyFy Sisters.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, it was
Yeah.
before the SyFy
Yeah.
Sisters.
Yeah.
Okay.
You remember, I was the person that said, "I've been waiting 50 years for this." I stood up and shouted it. And Anson Mount ran, and you all were going on. He ran up the steps and he kissed me.
Aw.
It's been a while since I've told that story, but that was me. I was there.
Okay. Cool. That's wonderful.
Well, we are like we said that we're so happy to have you here because we were all amazed at the costume design
Yes.
in Discovery, and now And then on Star Trek, when it comes to Star Trek, we feel like we can pick out your designs. We feel
Oh,
like
really?
we know your voice when it comes, because it was very singular, and because you always had these elements of practicality that other designs lacked. You were meticulous when it came to detail, and you have a line. There's a line. There's a through line of your designs that's a very Gersha Phillips like angles with the works
really?
that you were looking. At least like that's about how I was seeing it. Like we can spot you, girl.
It looks
At least
very
at least in
human.
that context.
Yeah. I love that it looks it's very elegant, but still very everyday. Like this
Yeah.
is what you would
Mhm.
wear.
Yeah.
It doesn't look
Well,
like,
it was one of the mandates that I remember. The first producer that I worked with on Discovery was Brian Fuller,
oh,
and
love him.
um,
Yeah.
Oh, he was there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
he was there in the beginning. Unfortunately, he was
Yeah.
only there for a little while, but
Yeah.
I just remember, the things he was saying and what he wanted our costumes to look like, and the uniforms in particular. He wanted them to be different, which, obviously that was not, the fans didn't like that, but hey, you live and learn. And I think the thing for me is, and this is one of the things I always say when I went to the Star Trek convention, which was quite a mind-boggling experience. But one of the things I did say to people when they asked me about things like that, about changing, things, especially my Mirror Universe costumes, they were like, well, why did you change them? And I was like, well, because that doesn't seem real. And one of the things that I was told about that too was make it functional, make it real. Also, they have to defend themselves instantly, so it had to be armor. But I think, that's a big part of, for me anyway, in terms of costume design, is definitely to, you're always guided by the script and the story, but it's definitely about making it as real as possible for that time. So it feels believable. You know what I mean? You can push things, here and there, and especially when you're dealing with, aliens and things like that. But, my basic sort of ground rules are always make it as real and believable as possible. So it has that. It's not jarring to the audience, and it tells a story in a way that the way it's supposed to, you know what I mean? It's like it's there as a background, and it does give you lots of information. And as long as that information is serving the story, then I think it's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. I mean, I'm a big fan of your Mirror Universe costumes.
Same.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean,
Me too.
I mean, they're my favorite. Anybody can cosplay that.
Yes, and they have.
Yes,
And it
we do.
looks
I mean,
good.
there's
We have.
I know
SyFy
the
Sisters
point I was
did.
trying to make before. Sorry, I just realized what I was trying to say was one of the things for me about Star Trek is that, and especially original series, there were so many things that were first there and now have become part of our lives, like the communicator and the iPad thing that I forget what it was called then, but now I think
Pad.
pad is
Pad.
pretty much pad, yeah. And there's one other thing, but I feel like in order to have innovation like that, you need to start with something. You can't keep going back, and I think the fans always want you to go back and regurgitate, as opposed to let's come up with the new Star Trek, like the new cell phone. What's that going to be? What are the things that we can do like that? And that was something that was very important to me when I started, that I wanted to also be innovative. And
Yeah.
so, and that, again, that came from Brian and Sudharat, who was the costume designer I was working with at the time. That was important as a sort of like our sort of ground mandate, ground zero. This is where we're going to start from, sort of thing. So
I think that's really cool. Like, I mean, because if we as fans, a lot of fans do want to stay stuck. Or it's not even that we want to stay stuck. Sometimes you're just super comfortable with something.
well, yeah, you want something that's familiar. Yeah, absolutely.
But there's a lot of us though who are like, well, where's the next frontier? Like we're actually exploring with this show, like, and we relish the newness and changes. I mean, sometimes if they make sense, in
exactly.
universe, sometimes changes don't make sense in universe, and you're like,
I do feel like they spend a lot of time on the stories and trying to come up with things that are realistic and credible. Like the whole, the Stamets storyline with the mycelium and all of that sort of stuff was really interesting and very cool, I thought. And I think a lot of people resonated with it. And I think, that sort of thing, it makes sense. And I think it could be where we're going as opposed to like where we've been, which is what the whole idea of sci-fi is supposed to be about.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yep.
Move on. We're moving forward. Okay.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But before we move forward, because I kind of jumped in the middle, I want to go back. Excuse me. I want to go back to little Gersha. When she was growing up. I mean, I sort of alluded to myself as a teenager having like fashion icons and stuff all over the walls. But what was your journey like? I know that, like you said, that your mom was a seamstress. I mean, like used to sew. Like she was a nurse, but she used to sew.
But it actually, I think it came from my grandmother. When I was thinking about it, that my grandmother sewed, and she lived in Trinidad, and she would send clothes to us, not just to me, and all kinds of things. It was interesting because she was sending us shoes, and I don't know. I was like, how did that work? That we were getting because I was living in London at the time, London, England. So I always sort of puzzled about the fact that she was sending us these things, but she did make me some beautiful pieces. And I remember in particular, I had this blue and white checked dress that was like one of my favorite things. And I think I wore it and wore it and wore it till it was almost dead. But so definitely, I feel like that whole idea of sewing design and because what transpired after that basically is I think we moved from London, England to Lanigan, Saskatchewan, and the first place we moved to was population 1,000, I believe, which is Lanigan. Lanigan is population 1,000. We lived there for 3 years before we moved to Saskatoon, which is a bigger city. But basically, living in Saskatchewan, it was really interesting. I mean, it was a good thing for our family, but it did put us in a position where we didn't have as much. Like the Christmas before, I got like, I don't know, some crazy amount of like, toys and all the gifts we got and everything. And then the Christmas we were in, our first Christmas in Lanigan, we had like what we call our Charlie Brown tree, which was a branch tree that my dad painted gold, which was sort of like what they used to do in the Caribbean. And then we put decorations on it. But I thought it was very beautiful, but it wasn't the same as like the beautiful green tree we would have had. So just, and we just didn't have as much at that time. So I remember wanting clothes and not being able to get them. And so would take things or would get things and try to fix them and change them a little bit. And that's sort of what started with I guess I also liked fashion magazines. I also probably was a big fan of like Teen and 17, I think was the big one.
Yeah.
Well. Before that, it started with my Barbies, obviously my dolls. I would dress my Barbies, always been changing them. And I started actually making clothes for my Barbies. That was the first. And I remember taking some of my mom's lace and using it to make Barbie beds, to trim my Barbie beds, because she had these books called McCall's, and they were
these.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, inside of the McCall's,
like
the really old ones, they used to have like things that you could make for your dolls.
The patterns,
the idea, and one of the things was in there was these beds that they used, and they showed you the lace and they how to make them and everything. And I remember making and I remember she was so upset with me, but that's where it sort of started with. So I mean, my mom, if I ever showed you pictures of my mom and some of the outfits that she wore, because she used to make some fabulous things for herself as well. And I think so the combination of my mom, my grandmother's things, and coming to me was that then I started wanting to create, I'm assuming. I think it just sort of was handed to me in that sort of sense. And then when I grew up and I was about a teenager, I started to really get into more fashion. And I think I'm trying to remember when there was a show that used to be on that Jeannie Becker used to do called Fashion Television. But I'm not sure if that was before or when that happened exactly in my little trajectory. But I remember finding Karl Lagerfeld. and
Oh.
was in love with everything that he was doing. And
Mhm.
I loved the way he talked about his fashion shows and the way he described the stories he was telling with the fashion. Like, he just had some really like wild and wonderful ways of describing what he was doing. And I thought it was really fascinating. And so the first thing that I wanted to do was to be the Black Karl Lagerfeld.
Wow. I
Okay.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
So that was it. And then because I do remember traveling to Toronto, one of the times I did come and I went to the Bay, which was like it would be the version of what you guys would have, like a Saks or a Bloomingdale's.
Okay.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
went to the designer section and I saw Karl Lagerfeld piece suits and I think it was Claude Montana at the time as well was in there. And it was just, I was like awed and flawed by everything I was seeing. It was wonderful.
Uh,
So I mean that definitely was where I started. And it was a love of fashion before costume design actually was the way that was my journey in.
oh my
So
God.
yeah, I mean, and then I started I was making clothes for myself and for friends, and then the a boyfriend at the time. We got together and started doing it together. And somebody asked us to put clothes in a store in Saskatoon called Vila Moda. It was called,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and we were selling and putting stuff in the store, and then we ended up with another store, and then so that went on for a couple years, I think, and then I decided that I wanted to do more and reach a bigger audience. So I wanted to move to Toronto. We were both going to move to Toronto, I think, at the time, but then we split up and I ended up moving to Toronto. And I was going to go to school, actually. I wanted to go to either Ryerson or I think there were a couple other schools I was looking at. And I got accepted, but the year I was going to move, I couldn't afford to go. So I just moved and started working right away and ended up
Mm,
working for a designer, a local Toronto designer. And, and that's sort of where I sort of got a little buzz about the film industry. But it wasn't
mhm.
until and I think I did do a little theater. I did theater in Saskatoon before I left. And I did a little theater, like, low budget theater in Toronto. And then went to see this movie called Beaches.
I was going
And
to ask you about that because I read that and I was like,
yeah,
really?
it's
Beaches?
weird.
Okay.
It's Beaches, I know, and it's not even because and it was just the title came up, and it just said costume designer, and I was like,
Oh,
that's what I want to do, and it was
Mm,
like as Oprah says, I say it all the time, the light bulb moment, right? It just
mhm.
was
yeah.
like
Yeah.
this is it, and so after that, I went on my little journey of trying to figure out how to become a costume designer, and ended up volunteering at the Canadian Film Center, and that was the first film I did. And then I worked for, I obviously I didn't design it. I was working as a costume assistant and learned many things. Even glued a pair of earrings onto an actor's ear, which was
Oh
not
my
good. But it was
Oh my
definitely an experience I will never forget. It was I worked with her not too long ago. Again, it was pretty
Wow.
yeah.
Oh my
Um,
God. Can you imagine?
yeah. It was the most stressful thing ever. And then actually right after that, I did design like two short films, and then I got into the union, and you do all the things, and then started designing a little bit. Always designing something, either a short or a low budget feature, while I was working on other projects.
Mm,
Mhm.
And then started designing full time, I think, like in the late 90s. So, yeah,
wow. I'm
yeah,
just like, I love that story.
yeah.
I love oh my God. Oh, I could have listened to that like so much more. You just see me, I was just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love all
And
the
then
light
what
bulb
happened?
moments, though. I
Yeah,
love
Yeah.
it.
no, it is. It's
Yeah.
such bizarre because it's like the movie really, I mean, I loved the movie Beaches, but it
Hmm.
Me
didn't really
too.
have anything to do with anything about, what I wanted to do. But it was just that seeing that title card and I don't know what it was about it because I must have seen it before because I loved watching movies. We used to watch
Hmm.
movies all the time. And yeah, it was just that. right place, right time,
Or you weren't listening before.
No, probably not. You're probably right. Yeah.
That's usually what I always say. I'm like, yeah, I watched this,
Well, it was
but
really
why
funny.
am I looking at it now differently?
Yeah, yeah, that's such a good point. That's such a good point. Yeah, because it was so weird too, because it's such a I had never thought about costume design. I never thought about the fact that there were costume designers on film, even though I had done theater. You know what I mean? It was just so interesting that all clicked in that moment
Yeah.
so strongly, and then the rest was history, as they say, right?
Yep.
I
That
love
was your
this.
that was
I
your
love
calling
this.
from those Barbies.
Yep.
I mean, what was Barbie good for anyway, but the clothes?
Exactly.
That's all I wanted it for.
My
Yeah,
Clothes in the
exactly.
house.
my Barbies tended to get mangled. Barbies didn't last long in my
I did.
world.
I really did a lot of damage to my Barbies as well.
My parents were like, "Oh yeah, we're not getting you any more Barbies." Like the heads were gone. Like it was just the Barbies remained.
I just wanted
never
Barbie for
owned,
her car.
I never owned the Barbie.
You never did?
Was never interested in Barbie. She was too little and too skinny for me.
That's what I was gonna say. It's probably that's probably why we destroyed them. Is because they were
Exactly.
they were unrealistic as women. And as
I didn't like her.
Yeah.
Even as a little girl, I didn't like her. So.
Yeah.
So you've done stage and TV and film. Like how different is the process for designing for those three, or is it?
I think yes. Well, it's mostly different because of budgets and time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Makes
basically
sense.
what it is. Yeah. So the theater I did, I had not a very big budget, and you're borrowing and getting things from everywhere. And because it was set in 18, what era was it? I can't remember. Yeah, it was called Belle. I'm trying to remember.
Like the movie Belle?
No.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think so. No.
Okay.
It was I don't know if the director that I worked with wrote it or how that came about, but anyway, it was interesting. We ended up mounting it twice. I got nominated for a Dora Award, which is a Canadian,
Oh wow!
like a Canadian Tony. Yeah, so it was a great experience. I mean, I had no chance of winning because I was up against, I think, The Lion King and Cabaret, which was who had massive budgets, and I had this little tiny budget. And
that tells you how good that was, then.
I know exactly.
But I really enjoyed the process of making the costumes and doing all the work on it. I think I did a lot of the sewing myself, just because of the cost, and also you get a little bit more time with theater, which is great. And I really loved working with the actors and watching rehearsals and everything that goes on with the theater part of it, which is cool. I mean, I really actually would like to do more at some point, but hasn't materialized yet. And then I would say TV, the difference between TV and film is again budget, and also TV is more of like a producer story showrunner medium, and a film is more of a director's, not medium, but that's who runs it. So when you do TV, you're dealing with like a group of people have, more control on it. So you're dealing with more people. So it's not a singular vision. It's like sort of like this group vision. And even some film now is becoming the group vision as well. Like Captain America is definitely very much a group vision. It's not a singular director division. So that's the difference. But if you're working on smaller, sort of medium budget films, then it tends to be a director's medium. But I have to say, actually, almost not anymore now that I think about it. But you still do sort of deal with one person. And usually with film, I find you get more time. When we did Star Trek, when I did Star Trek, one of the really nice things is before we shot anything, we did have a really beautiful length of prep, which was, amazing. So we could get started, but you only sort of may know it. You get sort of like an overview of the year, but you'd get 3 to 4 scripts off the top.
Okay.
And then, so you would start working on those things in those like 5 to 6 months, depending on whatever they would give us. Whereas film, I find and then what you've got is this continuous next script, next script, next script, because you've got the next episode to deal with. So you're just always moving through that, and it's pretty fast paced. And when we did Star Trek, we actually did, we did the 13 episodes, then they added an extra episode. We also did shorts in between. I think
Yes.
6 short films.
Right.
Season
Love
1, and
those.
I think we did 4 of those in season 2. So that was it made it pretty crazy and a pretty intense process in terms of designing, building, creating. The whole thing was just like, wow. It was a lot, right? And then also other things that happened, like, we were going to do Section 31 one year, I think at the end of season 2, or was that 3? They had started talking about doing Section 31, and then it ended up being and then that sort of went, then they decided, oh, we don't want to do that right now. I got on to doing Clarice, because it's the same, Alex Kurtzman was developing this series called Clarice. And he asked me to do the pilot of that. And then while we were doing that, that's when COVID happened. And then the other top was doing Strange New Worlds. And so we started doing Strange New Worlds. So then I was doing start season 4 of Discovery and starting up Strange New World with the costume designer there, Bernadette. So there was always it felt like when we were doing Trek, there's always this double layer all the time. So it was a lot of very, very busy, busy, busy. And one of the things I like about features is that you get one script and you just have to do that. And you get the prep for it, ideally speaking. And, it's a little different journey. So, I do find it a little bit more enjoyable because it's just one story that I had to look at, as opposed to 13 or whatever the number is. 10.
Yeah.
It's not coming up on you,
Yeah.
We were shooting those 14, I forget our actual shoot day, 14 days, and then you'd start prepping. So you were always working on more than one thing at a time. That's the thing about pretty intense.
That sounds intense.
How big is your staff for stuff like that?
I would say we ran about 35 to 40, 50 people, depending on what we were doing. For instance, Mirror Universe, we swell, and then we would shrink back because, those builds are massive and pretty intense for us to do. So season 1, we did it one way, and then season 2, we got to fix what we didn't like in season 1, which was really great. No, was it season 2 we did the second time in Mirror Universe? No, I think it's
season 3.
Yeah, season 3 with Georgia. So that was great.
Oh, that crown. Oh, Lord.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Stop!
Oh my goodness!
The crown.
We all said Gersha.
Yeah.
And that cape.
It was really, really incredible. What's that?
The cape.
Don't forget the cape.
The cape.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah.
Oh
And
my
the thing is that when you have an actress like Michelle Yeoh who can just rock something so well,
Yes.
just wonderful in that. Yeah, she really wears it well. So that's fantastic.
For people out there who might not understand how it works, on these sets, how your job works, can you describe a little bit, you're the costume designer, and then who's underneath you, or how that works, so they can have a little frame of reference?
So I'm the costume designer, as you said, and then right away I'll have assistant costume designers on Trek, and most anything I did on Trek. The first season I only had one designer. Right away we bumped it to 2 assistant designer, and then for every other year I've always had 3 assistant designers, and then we had 1 supervisor in season 1, and then we've always had 2 supervisors every year since then. Just because it's managing the 30 to 50 people, and also the continuous there's so much to do in terms of ordering and getting color sample dips of things, lab dips done, and we dealt with a lot of companies all over the world. We had our main uniforms came from Switzerland in the first season. The blue fabric that we got, we had to get that made. It's made in a specific color for us, and you have to go to Switzerland to confirm that the color is the right color. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So there's a lot to do. So it was really, it was great to have the extras people to help us make it happen. So we have So it's ACDs, assistant designers, supervisors, and the ACDs sort of help me with the design process. They do all the fittings with me. Um, they, can be my proxy whenever I'm not able to do something. Because the other thing is you have meetings continuously, like
I
there's
can
several
imagine. Yeah.
meetings. And then the supervisors run the department, so they make sure
Okay.
that all the crew, they hire the crew. They have to do all the budgets. We have to do a budget for every episode. We have to do a labor budget and a cost budget, like a bill,
Mm-hmm.
what it's going to cost us to do, make the costumes, etc. And so there's those two groups, and then right underneath them we'll have usually, I think we used to have like about 3 costume assistants, because what we also had were our space was split up into 2 sections. We had our main office in the main building, and then we also had like a warehouse where we actually had 2
Oh.
Mhm.
and funny thing, I remember when I was with my supervisor, Karen, and we went to see the space in the beginning, to check it all out. And I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do with all this space? We don't need all this space. Karen's like, don't say anything. It's going to get crazy. And sure enough, we never had enough. After season 1, we didn't have enough space. We had to have
Wow.
a
Mm.
storage that's off site already.
Wow.
And I was like, I couldn't believe it. It was wild to watch that just take place and grow and swell.
Wow.
Because the team, we had 2 sewing shops, like one in our main area and then one in the mill shop as well. And then we had a sculpting room event at the end. We had our own spray booth to do chroming, etc. That's what all the
Uh-huh.
stuff that gives you
Oh,
that
wow.
shiny stuff. We have like what they're called as FX builders. So we have an FX team. We have our sewing team. Usually we have like about 5 cutters, and then
Mm.
each cutter has like 2 seamstresses at least to make that work. Um, and then we have, like I said, the FX team, and then we also have a really great textiles team that does all the breakdown and all the costumes, etc. And then you have the set team, and the set team includes like the key set team, and then another group that has to do background, so that work on all the background performers. So it ends up being like quite a big group of people in the long run. So
Oh my
it's
God, that's amazing. I
And
didn't
that's just
even
for Star
realize.
Trek, though, right?
yeah, that's just
That's wow.
it's sort of like the footprint for all our shows. And one of the things for me, it was another thing that was really important to me, was to train our crew. Because when we started, we were really dependent on, I had never done sci-fi before, and I'd never done such a big build show. So it was very much learning mode in the first season. And so we had some outsourced pieces that were done for us. And the problem is that they when those companies make the things for you, like we had, and they're beautiful, obviously gorgeous, but the problem is when you start to work with them, there's other things come up, and your
Sure.
budget only allowed you to get that thing made. It didn't get you anything else besides
Right.
try to figure out how to make it work. Like, because Soneqa's first spacesuit that we had done by FBFX in London, it was gorgeous, but it cost quite a hefty price tag. And then anything we needed to fix after that, we had to deal with if we wanted to use it again. So that's one of the things. So we started learning how to do our stuff ourselves. And I started, like, that was a big thing for me, was to train our crew so that they could learn. And we did a lot. We obviously had lots of mistakes. It was a crazy experience, but in the end, I think we've trained up like at least 3 to 4 groups of people that can do the work now, and they all work on the different build shows in Toronto. It's pretty great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Wow.
we could have created a really great group of FX builders.
Yeah,
And
you had a school going on there.
Right.
yeah, no, it very
It's a
much.
trade
Because, well,
school.
I'd never 3D printed anything before. We learned how to do that, and working with 3D modelers and then 3D printing and all of that stuff. Because then once you've 3D printed it, you can either use it as a 3D print, or you can sculpt it in something that's a little bit more, another sort of. Now this is where I know I'm not going to be able to remember what those things are called. Kind of resin that's
Okay.
more flexible, because the 3D prints they weren't then. I think there are now, you can get more flexible ones, but then sometimes they're very heavy.
Heavy.
And just
Okay.
awkward. And so you really want to resculpt it in something that's more flexible.
Mm.
So, but learning all of those things, and even once you sculpt them, and then it's like, well, then you paint it, and the paint doesn't want to stick to it. And it's like, oh, there's so many layers of things that you have to learn. It's fascinating, but it was
Wow.
really great. And I feel really good about the fact that we were able to learn so much and change, the Toronto industry a little bit in terms of
Yeah.
stuff. So it's very
Wow. Wow.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about innovative.
Yeah, very
Definitely.
innovative actually. Yeah. So.
And I can ask one more question. I
Yeah,
wanted to
I
know
know you
about.
saw.
I'm sorry, I because you said innovative, and I was thinking about. I know there's this technique you talk about called no sew technique.
Oh yeah, the no-show. Well, actually, they finally got the machine on. We finally got the no-show machine. I'm hoping that they use it because it's on Starfleet Academy.
Hmm.
The problem was when we got it, when I was on the show, we did get it, but it just took, we weren't able to get it to work exactly. So we do it a different way. So the no-show is, when you if you think of like Adidas or Nike, or Arc'teryx, like those companies, the way they sew their seams,
Uh-huh.
they're not. You'll notice that there's no thread. It's all glued. It's glued with
Okay.
the sealer, and that's what I wanted to do because I found that the idea was that everything was supposed to be replicated and then later
Sure.
printed. And so you wanted it to not look like a sewn garment to have the seams. Although in the beginning they did. So it was like, anyway, for me personally, I don't mind because the thing
It's
was,
just such a good point. Like that's a
Yeah.
beautiful point.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, as you can already see what's happening with clothing and the way it is changing, there's a company now that makes 3D printed sneakers, and you can just
Hmm.
put I think you can scan your foot in their
Scan your
program,
foot. Hmm.
and then they make the sneaker to fit you. So, I
And
mean,
your foot.
we're in another, like when you think of the timeline that Star Trek is supposed to be in, by the time that's real, like those things, I mean, you probably won't even be wearing clothes, to be honest. That's what I said. When we jumped 1,000 years in the future, I was like, I don't think they wear clothes. And then my boss was, I guess you don't have a job. And then I was like, oh, good
Right.
point.
Point taken.
Hold up. Let me
But my
rephrase that.
point being was that, we did this. I don't know if you remember in season 3, I think it was, or season 4. Season 4, the first episode, the clothes just get like morphed onto the guy. Like,
Yeah, I remember
and I
that.
was like, well, that's how it should be. But even like getting there, I was always about how do we make the clothing look more futuristic than what people did do before? Because if you think about sci-fi, and this is another one of my problems with sci-fi, was that most sci-fi was originally made in the 60s. So a lot of people were always doing 60s as sci-fi, which
Right.
is,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so that's why a lot of people didn't do shirts or any collars, because the 60s vibe was the mock neck and that look and very clean. And so that's what happened. If you look at space, what was the ones I'm thinking of, the one with oh my God, what's his name?
Fran will know it.
Was it Space 1999? Is that what it's
Oh,
called?
Space Odyssey?
No, not
No.
Space.
You mean like
TV series.
Martin Landau and Barbara Bailey?
Yes, Martin Landau. Well, it was a TV series, and I remember watching that series and
Yes.
and I liked the costumes there, and I remember looking at them quite a bit. But it was actually Sudaret that brought up the fact that we should definitely have a collar in our uniform, because the collar has been around since, I don't know. She teaches costume design, I think, or I don't know, something anyway. But she quoted like, the actual date that the collar was introduced and how long it's been around. And it just made sense that we should
Made
have a
sense.
collar on our uniform. And that's why we did the collar and the asymmetrical. But I mean, the asymmetrical thing came later, but that's why we came up with the collar, which I think was a really cool way of doing it. I love those navy blue uniforms.
So do
Me
I.
too. Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. And then, the different things, the way that evolved was, we first did them plain, and we did them. Well, first we started doing the 3 colors. Like that was our first journey. And then,
Yeah.
then, I forget how that happened exactly, but anyway, we were trying all the time to come up with metals that matched the three colors. So each color had its own metal. So silver was with blue, gold was with gold, and the red was with copper, and that's where the three colors came from. And then so they decide when we did two test runs of colors for the uniform. So we did the red, the yellow, and the blue, and we did two versions of them. Nobody liked them. Well,
Power Rangers.
we actually got to camera test them first, and then they were at the camera test. They were like, "The one we don't like these," and it was crazy because we were supposed to go to camera, and then luckily they pushed again. And this is what happened with our first season. Like we were always had camera coming up, but then it never happened. So because I started on the series in July. And when I got hired, we were supposed to go to camera in September, at the end of September. And that was very tight, especially with some of the leads that people were telling us in terms of getting fabric done for us and all. But anyway, so that was our first D-Day, as I call it. And then it moved to October, I think first October, then it moved to November, and then it moved to January. And so that was our thing. That's how it went. So we ended up having a lot more time, but we didn't know we were going to have all the time to prep. So I think when we did the first camera test was when they decided they didn't want to do the three colors. They wanted to approach it differently. And then we went back and looked at like space and uniforms and the idea that, usually there's just one color. And couldn't we show our departments in a different way? And that's where you got to do it with the metal and do the zippers. And then, we made them clean with no deltas on them. And then Brian was like, "Oh, I think they need to be busier." And we had this idea, we had tested it, doing the mini deltas in the same color as the uniform when we were doing the three colors. So we were like, well, why don't we do the color of the metal on the uniform? And so that's where that came from.
Oh,
and so
wow.
and then we added it to the boots. And then,
The boots.
yeah, and then,
Love those boots.
yeah. So it was quite a journey, I have to say. It was very, very stressful.
Oh my God. It sounds like it.
Yeah,
It's-
quite something else. But
I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about being a Black woman in this industry and like what types of challenges or not that you might have faced, or how you see like the industry, how like are there more Black people entering into the costume design world? Like, because it seems like maybe there's not that many of you guys. Okay.
yeah. No, it's really fascinating because I used to think there weren't that many of us either. But like I was saying before we started that my friend had decided that she wanted to put together a Black costume designer association, I guess I'll call it. And she wanted it to be international. And I was like, I think this is a good idea. Let's try it out. And so we have done that. And in doing that, we found that there are so many more Black costume designers. I think there's over like at least 100, maybe 100 and I'm going to say maybe 120, maybe even more.
Wow.
Throughout the world. So it is, there's quite a number in London. Obviously, there's a few in the Caribbean. Obviously, there's lots in Africa that we're just now meeting and learning about. There's this one woman that's from Nigeria, I think, that even's become an Academy member, which is really fantastic. So I think, in terms of being a Black costume designer, I will say that has been interesting. And because of my name, I think I end up in more rooms than I would have if people knew it. I mean, now, but before when I started, I think I know that I would just remember the feeling of going into a room and saying, "Hi, I'm Gersha Phillips." And they're like, "Oh, not expecting it to be me." So it was always a thing. And so, and I know when I've been in rooms too, and they come into the room where I'm working and they're coming to meet me for the first time and they're looking and they don't come to me immediately. They look for they'll go to the white person that's in the room or the other person. And then it's like, actually, that's Gersha over there, they'll say, or whatever it is. That's definitely happened quite a few times. So
Oh my gosh.
Huh?
I said,
Yeah, no,
oh,
it doesn't matter who they are. They can be
Yeah.
producers, they can be
hmm
PR people. Like so many people will come through to meet you, you know what I mean? And it's really
Mm.
fascinating. And and that's an unfortunate thing. And I think that our industry has a huge hand to play in it. We're just, even being an Academy member now that I've been one since 2018. And I've been, and it was interesting to see what happened around COVID and how, once the George Floyd situation happened and how everybody was, so into making it better and making the whole place more diverse. And then, move ahead a few more years and it almost becomes like, well, I don't want to vote for anybody that isn't excellent. And then it's like, well,
Mhm.
that's what we're asking you for. You know what I mean? And you had to go through that
yeah.
whole line and people talking about, who are the people that are, because in the costume department, we are probably the most, I don't know if we're the most diverse. I would say probably actors are probably the most diverse department. But I would say that we are the most diverse in terms of we're more equal in terms of women. There are definitely more
Oh.
women in our department. And so, or sorry, it's called branch. Branch. So I think that, but some people will say, well, what we're missing are white men, like, and it's such a ridiculous statement. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
and I've had that's sort of the thing. It's like when you hear things like that, you're like, no.
Right. Like,
Or where
Absolutely not.
somebody says in a meeting, well, I've hired some of those people. You're just like, what happened there?
wow.
And so that's where you can tell that a lot of people are still quite tone deaf because they've lived the life they've led,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I think that I've lived the life I've lived, so I know what it is to be a Black person in a room. I know what it is to be, when an actor comes in or whoever it is that comes in and
Mhm.
they're not expecting you to be the boss, or even when, your team sort of doesn't know how to treat you as the boss or doesn't know,
Mhm.
Mm.
and I think a lot of Black people in our industry have issues with their teams, and I know I've heard the story over and over again, and it is hard to, because you have to, the term code switching is not there for no reason. You
For
have
no
to,
Right.
reason, right?
you have to
Right.
Mm.
sort of, like learn how to, and I mean, like, I guess it's part of managing a team anyway, but you do have to pay a little extra attention to your tone, because
Mhm.
as a Black woman, I think for me, especially my mom always was like, you have to be the best. You have
Yeah.
to and you think everybody sort of operates with that in mind, but they do
They
not.
do
And
not.
No. No, they
No,
don't.
so,
they
what I mean?
don't.
I always want to give my 120, 30%, but a lot of people operate at like 60%.
Right.
30.
They do.
30. It's
30,
30.
30. And like, I mean, like, I'm sure weren't you raised with your parents telling you, you got to be
Mhm.
twice as good just to make
Yeah,
it like
Yep.
half
exactly,
as
Oh yeah,
hard.
we
exactly.
Yeah.
all were. We
Yeah,
all
Yep.
were.
so
And
yeah,
it's not were. We still are. I'm still doing
Right, yeah,
that.
are.
You
Right. We're
know?
well,
still
no,
It's
doing it.
exactly.
for
I'm having
real.
Yeah.
that issue with my daughter right now. She says they're
Yeah.
never satisfied with her, and I'm like, oh my God, I've got to figure out how to deal with that. So one of the
Mhm.
things I realized is that for me, I definitely have a tone. The tone definitely comes from my mother. I can hear it when it happens now, because now you learn how to be more cognizant. As you get older, you have that a little bit more time. I don't know what it is that allows you to see things
Right.
as you're doing them,
Mhm.
ideally before, so that you're like,
Right.
Sometimes.
so I'm not going with all the energy of what I really feel into that situation, because I
Yeah.
think that's what it takes to be a boss that sort of is a little bit more understanding, a little bit more compassionate, and a little bit more what's the other word? Patient, right? And
Mm.
I
Mhm.
think there's a lot because you need to be able to um ignite your team and make them excited about what they're doing. You know what I mean? And get them into it. And it's like that's the journey. And it's like, I mean, I used to call it shucking and jiving. It's like
Yes.
always having sort of like put on a show and do all these stuff. Even when you go to see your producers or your
Yeah.
directors, it's like you gotta and go do the thing to sell the
Hmm.
thing
Yes.
after, or
Yep.
they've approved everything, and then all of a sudden, some other studio exec got involved or decided to finally look at the stuff you sent them, and then they want to change everything. So then you've got to figure out how to make it happen, or you've got two camps to deal with, like one likes it, one doesn't. The actor wants to wear this, and the director hates it, and then you got to bring it all together somehow. So you're always in that position of like trying to make these things work. And so I think for me, I mean, yes, there's a lot you deal with being Black, but I think being a boss even right now is a challenging time because, I will say that the HR-ness of it all has really made us like targets. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because,
Yep.
Yeah.
where budgets have been getting smaller and smaller, crews are smaller and smaller, but the actual work is bigger. So
Right.
things are not working together very well. So you spend half your time fighting to get the size of the crew and the money, and then everybody wants more money because, what happens too is that we have, in our unions, we have two rates. We have a feature rate and a TV rate.
Oh.
The reality is the work is no different.
Wow.
No different.
Wow.
But and it's a $10 difference. Right?
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
People that do TV want feature rates, and there should be no difference anymore. They should just scrap that, maybe come up with a number in the middle
I
somewhere.
mean, like most of the TV that's being made is a small movie. Discovery was a small movie every
we were
episode.
making
Every episode.
Every episode.
Exactly. So these are the problems that we have to do. So you have to somehow, get your crew into design, working on these things that we made. And I forgot to mention when I was talking before about part of the crew, the other part of the crew that's really important is the illustrator. So I work with, usually 2 to 3 illustrators on each season. We were working with them, and even, when I do features, I just can't produce the level of illustration that is required for
Right.
all of these people to look at and approve, right? And to be able to see it. You need something that can do those ones that you can see easily. So one of the other things I find is, when they're really excited about what they're seeing and what they're getting to do, that's when, and then they're all like bubbling about, what they're going to get to create and how we're going to go about it. And then, obviously the process is really fascinating and really fun. And then when we're done at the end, to see the finished product is also really good. The finished product is really great too, the finished costume. So yeah, it's I think, I mean, for me personally, I try not to dwell, I guess, on that. I was actually thinking this a lot because lately, especially because, I was like, when Sinners got nominated for 16 Academy Awards, fucking amazing. Excuse me.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, it's
Yes,
okay.
fucking
And I was
amazing.
like
Yes.
I was getting all mad about the fact that I don't know how many they're going to actually get. And I was, and I
No, I'm trying not to go through
Because
that.
It's like
I was
every
going
Black
back to
person
Color
doing
Purple.
that?
I was going back to the Color
Yes.
Purple.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I
Yeah.
keep going back to in my
I
head.
don't even remember. That was that one that got nominated for a
Oh
lot
my
of-
God.
It got
yes.
it got the most nominations and won absolutely none.
Oh, really?
That's
Wow.
why
Not a single
that
one.
stopped me watching the
that's-
Academy Awards from
Oh,
that
that
point
movie
on.
well, that's
came
why
out,
I was like, I thought about it a lot, and I was like, and I realized that one of the things is when they lose, one of the feelings I was having was about my Blackness and my ability to feel accepted. And I think it was like a commentary on that. And I realized, and I was trying to think of, well, how do you separate those two things? Because I don't want to be like that upset and that angry about it. You know what I mean?
I know.
And I think that's the part of the work that I'm trying to figure out is like, how do you be a Black person in this world today in terms of the sort of feeling of that things are backpedaling, that they're going back in time in terms of the journey that we've been on. It feels like, oh, why is that changing? Why does that feel like we're going back? Why is that?
It's not even stagnating, it's going backwards.
Yeah, that feel, and I think, yeah, no, and it's quite a thing to figure out and to also just sort of, I don't know, tap into some other what am I trying to say? You have to go back to yourself and your spirituality and your belief in yourself. And I think that that's where I sort of, the journey I feel like I'm trying to be on right now is just to be more cognizant of that and not pay attention to the color necessarily, but knowing, and also I think the thing about the Academy and things like that are so they're a little ridiculous. Like I've said this before, I even mentioned it in the Academy because I was a member of the board at one point. Actually, I don't know if I said it there, but I want to talk to them about it because I feel like rather than having one person or one movie, like I love the way the AFI does it. They do 10.
Uh-huh.
Like I think 10 people or 5 people or whatever. I feel like it shouldn't be this, it should be this.
Uh-huh.
You've got, because then it makes more sense and it's more real because the Academy isn't real. In
Right.
terms of it's a popularity contest, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
if your movie, some people don't even watch all the movies. They just now put a mandate on that if you haven't
You
watched
have to
the
watch
movie,
it.
you can't vote. Well, the thing is, I don't even know how they're going to regulate that.
Thank you.
Because all you have to do to say that you vote, you saw something, is you have to just check watched.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the way it goes for us is we have a portal, right? That they sent, you get all the movies on. But if you don't, like for instance, I saw Sinners in the theater. I try to see as much in the theater, so then I just check watched on the portal. So because I didn't watch those things on the portal. So to me, I'm like, well. And the other part of the story is that, okay, you have to do that for that part, but the part where you pick the 5 or whatever, the first voting, you don't have to, it's not mandatory that you've watched the movies, right?
Oh, wow.
It's not. They
Oh
only
my
do it
God.
only on the last section.
So it's even more because than we thought.
Exactly. It's a popularity contest. That's what I say.
Yes. But I think there's so many people are so invested in that now.
They are, but
You
well, they
know?
are and they aren't because everybody knows it's kind of like a pony show. Everybody knows the reality of it.
But
right?
at the same time, like if you have Academy Award nominee
Yes.
or Academy Award winner
Yes.
on your name or on your project,
it's supposed to carry more.
You are,
yeah,
and you're making much
More
different
money.
money than you were
apparently,
before.
yeah. I don't know. I'm not one, so I can't.
Well, I mean, apparently, so supposedly, but that also
I
we
don't
have
know
found
though
out
because if
doesn't work for those of us that are
when I
brown
talk
skinned
to
either.
Ruth, yeah, I think that it does, and I think also other people have had, like they say what do they call it? The negative side effect of the winning an Academy. Some people there's a lot of stats on how some people's journey once they won went down.
Okay.
That was the pinnacle.
And the women get divorced usually.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
But speaking of,
and what's her name, Sandra Bullock. Those guys. I think there's somebody else I can't remember, but yeah.
Wow.
So it's I feel like it's too bad, and I wish somebody else would say, let's create another version for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there is the AFI and there are these other bodies of thing, but the pinnacle is still the Academy, and I think
it is.
It's kind of BS, right?
We've had
and it's like even in nominations should be 10. Why be 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many films were this year? Or at least maybe 6?
Isn't it 10 now?
They increased the
10 for
pictures.
Best picture.
Yeah.
Everything else is 5.
Oh, wow.
We've had this conversation before. There was one movie that came out before The Color Purple that got 11 nominations and didn't win 1.
Oh, really? What was it?
That was the turning point with Ann Baxter and Shirley MacLaine. Didn't win 1.
Wow,
women.
Women, that
it was
right?
Because
Not black,
women.
women.
It was women.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't remember that. Is that what's the movie about? The Turning Point?
It's about these two ballet. One.
It is ballet. That's what I thought. Yeah.
It's ballet. Yeah, and one is.
Yeah.
Their daughters are competing and all that stuff. And they didn't win that one, but I think they didn't win because it was so woman centered.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I think.
Probably.
No, probably right.
I believe you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm hoping that they'll definitely win music, as they say.
We'll win music, and if they had a sports category, we would have won that too.
And I'm hoping that I would love, out of all the awards for them to win, I want them to win cast,
Yeah.
best picture, and I'm hoping that Delroy Lindo wins.
Oh
That's
God,
all.
Oh,
yes.
yeah, me
That's
too.
all I
Yeah.
want. I
Of
was
all,
so
Yeah.
happy when I
if
heard
they
his
only get
name.
one,
Yes,
I hope
yes.
it's him. Yeah,
Yeah,
I hope it's
Yeah.
him if they get one, and I hope
well,
they
look
win for
at
cinematography too, because
Oh,
yeah,
that wasn't that
man,
yeah,
fantastic?
yeah.
oof,
She
oof,
killed
oof.
it. She killed it.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah,
she
Yeah.
should win, but we'll
yeah,
see what happens.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I
We'll
think that
see.
the
I'll
things
be
that will
looking
tell
at
us a
it.
lot will be the BAFTAs are before, and also
Hmm.
the actor now. They used to be the
Oh, the
SAG.
Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah, yeah. Those will
Okay,
give us a lot of information. So,
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
because
yeah.
we loved that movie.
Oh, it's
Uh,
fantastic.
It's
I
It's
so
I think
so
we've all seen
because
it three to four
I'm
times,
not a
right?
horror
I'm
film.
not even
I'm
gonna tell
not
you
the
how
only
many
right.
reason
times.
why I haven't seen it more than once is good. But I do have to. My friend hasn't seen it, and I wanted to see it. She wants to see it before the
Uh,
Academy.
I
Hmm.
am not good with horror either, but
Not my
this was
thing.
so not like,
Yeah, right.
like it wasn't your
There
typical
was so
horror.
much of a great story told before.
It was,
Like
yeah.
Yes,
even
like,
once you saw whatever that guy's name is, the Irish actor, I can't remember his name
Oh
oh
was.
yeah.
I
yeah,
can't
he's
think
so
of the name
good.
either.
Whenever you saw him, once you saw him at that point, you're like, oh shit.
Right,
Here it goes.
right, right.
But
When
it
he
was
fell out of the
there's
sky,
so
right?
many amazing things about that movie and about the storytelling that's there about Black culture, about
Hmm.
about the music.
Still
Um,
in the music, want the music, don't want
yeah,
the people to play. They like our music, but they don't want us to play it. And
yeah,
that's still happening. Yeah.
it was, yeah, and I think the other thing about that movie, why nobody can take it, is because there's no the black people are the white people are the bad people, and they're all
Yeah, they
bad.
are.
There's no shades of anything in the white
No,
group, in white people,
No,
and
Mm-mm.
no.
But
It
that's
this was
doesn't make
1932 in
Well, it
Mississippi.
doesn't make
doesn't
white
make it
people feel better about themselves
no,
like
no,
Not at
most of the other
all.
ones.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
like
all the
most
other
of the other
movies
ones.
do,
like all the
exactly.
Right,
other
like
movies.
everything, like
Yeah,
right, that are
yeah,
patting themselves
yeah.
on the back for their
Sure,
Yeah,
whiteness,
so
sure,
this is the
sure.
difference, and I think that's why Sinners. And the thing that it's like it's such a statement though that they
It
got back.
is.
This is like wow, I was
It
Like
is
not
a
it is.
statement,
expecting that.
man.
So it was pretty amazing. I mean, I think
I think
no
if
matter
it
what
went wherever,
happens, I think Ryan Coogler has definitely made his statement. Like he
oh
is,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
He's
yeah,
such
yeah,
a
wow,
genius.
yeah.
yeah,
I
wow,
think statement is the word because I
yeah,
even where if they win, like if the BAFTAs or the
yeah.
Screen Actors Guild, if they win, that's a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
People are
anything that,
making a
well, it's just
statement.
above and beyond because I think they've already made the statement, which is what I
That's what
think.
I'm
I think
saying. Like the
Mhm.
they've
movie
already
itself
done
was
it, and it's like the
yep.
fact that they want to still call it just a horror movie, and they
Yeah,
want it,
You
it's
know,
not that
yeah,
good, and all of that shit. It's a
yeah.
great movie. It's great
great
storytelling.
It's a
Like
it's
storytelling.
great
it's a
storytelling.
classic. It's
Deep.
Yeah,
classic.
exactly. It'll be a
Yeah.
Yeah.
classic.
Yep.
And then
Instant
on top
class.
of that, the deal he made. So it's
Woof.
like
Right.
Oh,
win,
yes.
win, win, win,
Oh, yes.
win.
Right.
That right
That
there,
part.
that is the
Mm-hmm.
killer. That's what's
Yeah,
killing them.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the one they
Oh,
can't
they
Well, you
were
see,
take.
pissed
the
about
different, what
that.
happens with the academy, the way the academy voting goes is, right, is like each branch votes for the first group,
Mhm.
and then the whole academy votes on the rest. And that's
Oh, okay.
so unless what the way voting works too is that people voting for other people cancel people out. So for
Mhm.
instance, I think that's why Tessa Thompson and Cynthia Erivo didn't get in because those are two competing people voting,
Mm.
canceled each other out.
Mhm.
And then I think that's possibly what will happen with Tian Taylor and Wumi Masaku. They
Wumi,
Me,
yeah, they'll
I'm
cancel
thinking,
each
oh,
other out.
God,
It'll be
yeah.
tricky because I'm not sure. I don't like. I mean, I guess we can't really discuss one battle after another right now, but because I don't know anything about that movie. Have you guys seen it?
No,
Not
not
yet.
yet.
Oh, really?
It's
Oh
on
my
my
god!
list though. It's
Please
on my
watch it.
list.
Please watch. I think
Yes.
we should have. We need to have like a woman a conversation about that movie.
Okay.
Okay.
I would
Okay.
We
love
can
to.
do
'Cause
that.
I think it could be really. It's quite fascinating. And I'd love to have everybody's. I mean, I listened to Tuku Smith. Is that his name? The guy with the spiky afro with
I don't
gray
Okay.
know. Yeah.
glasses. Anyway, I listened to him and he said something that I was like, okay. Because when I first watched it, I was like, I was in the theater. I went with my brother and some friends sat beside us. I saw in London, and I was like, oh my god, I hated it. And then I realized I didn't hate it, but I hated the first 15 minutes
Yeah.
of it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then the rest of it. It is a great film, but I didn't like a certain part of it. And then so I
Okay.
think you guys, I'm not going to spoil it. I think you
Okay.
Now we've
Yeah.
got some homework. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
discussed it with many people, and some people have, like my friend tried to watch it and couldn't watch it because of the first 15 minutes. Several
Oh
people have done, oh my
gosh.
God, and they
Yeah.
put it aside. So I'm curious to know what people say, and also whether, and my brother who was like disagreeing with me, and then afterwards he thought about it more, and then he came back and he goes, you know what, you're right. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
There are
Okay.
certain
Yeah.
movies that I haven't seen and I never will see
Uh-huh.
because I just can't look at them.
Mhm.
Okay.
So you're telling me like the first 15 minutes might be
Well,
like
when
that?
we get off mic, we can find out if it's what type of trigger warning it might be for you.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
You
yeah.
know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Because
nothing. No, it's not it's not bad like that. It's a different kind of
Okay,
bad.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll look at it. Okay.
There's nothing. It's a different kind of bad. It's just
Okay.
okay.
a certain
Okay.
character that's it's a little. I found it too much, and I think it's sort of. Um, I felt it a little. I don't know what the word is I would use. Would I say disingenuous or
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
belittling or
Oh. Okay.
Mm.
uh anyway, black women.
Okay.
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 All right. We've got our marching
Watch it and
orders, and
see what you
you know,
say.
and
Definitely
then
will.
and
It's
then you'll
more, I
hear
mean,
that.
especially as being American black women, I think that,
Mm.
and knowing like the history of black women, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh Lord, Angela Davis.
Sure.
Civil rights
Civil
activists.
right. Mm-hmm.
Not civil rights, but it's not, that's not the word I'm looking for. They were
Oh.
called, oh my God, I
Strong
can't
black women.
Feminists.
could be called that, but there's another word that they were called at the time. Revolutionaries. Sorry,
Revolution.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
revolutionary.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No, I'm like, oh, we're going for real. Like, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
female
For real,
black
for real.
revolutionaries. And I
Yeah.
just feel like it's a big issue for me in terms of that particular thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Watch it, see what you
Yeah,
think.
I definitely got to watch it.
intrigued.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
before we wrap up, I just want to like ask you first of all, like I've loved this conversation. It's just been
Okay.
amazing. Thank you so much. But is there a thing what are you looking for? What's your next challenge?
But
How do you hope to be challenged in the future? Like, because you've done
well,
some
one of the
amazing
things that I did do when I did Starfleet Academy, which I basically worked with Avery, the designer. I brought in a designer to take over because I didn't want to do another Star Trek series. I didn't want, and so I decided I would bring somebody in and teach them. And
Oh,
I gave him my wonderful crew.
okay.
And set her on her way. So I did that from when was it? March till November. That was 2024. And then I also, though, what happened was I got an associate producer credit.
I was going to ask you about that.
We saw that. We were like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
Gersha, go.
Yeah, so that's something that I'm very interested in, which is I'm definitely interested in producing, and I'm trying to sort of work on that and figure out how to make that happen. And then, I definitely would love to, I'm definitely continuing to costume design. So I've done 2 projects this year, and I'm hoping that I'll get some good ones coming up because the industry has been a little bit weird. So hopefully things are going to get back into shape and there's some
Let's
good
hope
projects
so.
coming. Yeah. So that's the goal. Yeah.
Love it.
Well, I can't thank you enough for like coming and hanging out with us. Like, oh my God, you're so.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yvette?
Thanks for listening to the SyFy Sistas podcast. During the 60th anniversary of Star Trek, we are honored to continue celebrating the franchise we love and to have been named 2025 Best All-Around Star Trek Podcast by TrekMovie. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/SyFy Sistas and be part of the mothership. Join the conversation in the SyFy Sistas Book Club on Facebook. Watch our interviews, live shows, and our infamous Top 10 series on YouTube, SyFy Sistas Inc. The Trek Geeks Network's presenting sponsor is Fansets. Grab pins and memorabilia from your favorite franchises at fansets.com and use Trek Geeks, all caps, for 10% off. After listening to this podcast, please rate us and write a review. We may just read it on an upcoming episode.
And I just want to say a big thank you to the best and most awesome associate producers anywhere in any galaxy. That's Sailor Marge, Stephanie Baker, and Karen Dramera. We love y'all and thank you for everything you do on our behalf. And that's it, my good friends. We are out of here. Peace, love, and hair grease. Hey everybody, Sister Tamia here with the shorty shout-outs for this month. We'd like to thank the following patrons for all your support. Heather and Greg, Chris Garris, T. Alexander, Kim McLean, Mark G, Kat, Anthony Aponte, Frankie Dawn Engelbert, Jay-Z, Chronikasha, Daryl Lockhart, JKH, Eric, Lamaya Lancaster, Hallie Ashmead, B. No, Tara, Cleo Townsend, Sandra Aponte, Lenny, Oils Galore, Michael Stakem, Allison Leach Hyde, Mike and Kristen Holton, Ayana Mae Tom, Casey Shafsky, Brad DeMag, Mike Nauer, Cassandra Gerard, Bruce McMillan, L.J., Tara Jefferson, Bernadette Garcia Galvez, Rhonda G., Rita Prasant Nethersole, Bill Erickson, Zakia Graham, Linda Anderegg, Jeff Cochran, Old Klein, Peter Heisler, Olga Kravchuk, TJ Jackson Bay, Liza Albright, Kaylia Zawaki, Stephanie Baker, Sailor Marge, Stephanie Dole, Jamal Taylor, Scott Jensen, Ann Bradley, L.M., Dave A. Gregory, Eve England, Dafid Balston, Karen Dramera, Sue K., Muhammad Noor, Susan V. Gruner, and Anna Post. Thank you all so much for your patronage. We love y'all.